Great. All right, great. Hi, everyone. Welcome. Thank you so much for tuning in to our show. I'm your host, Clara Petalou, and I'm rebranding the show. We're rebranding the show as calling it About Your Business. We want to learn about your business, and I want to interview amazing, talented, successful people to help us better understand the keys to business ownership and how to use them. So I have an amazing guest today, our first guest on the show About Your Business, Cody Nielsen, business coach with Nielsen Business Coaching and Development. Hi, Cody.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Yeah, thanks so much for coming on. As a business coach, you work with a lot of different types of businesses.
Correct. Yeah, small businesses from 50,000, 100,000 up to running $1 million businesses.
And in all different sectors, different industries.
Yep.
So we wanted to get together today because there's some common themes or common misconceptions in the business world.
And we want to talk about 10 myths that I see most commonly with either running my own businesses in the past or working with my clients.
Oh, it's hard to really know because there's a lot that you hear. Business ownership can be really glamorized. It's very romanticized in the media. I think what we're going to get into today is some real world business keys for success.
I agree. Yeah,
Okay.
the stuff you don't hear on CNN and Reuters and Bloomberg. This is the small business, real world, most people that are running a business deal with.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, great. Well, hey, let's jump into the top 10 myths of business ownership. The first myth I find very interesting because I would agree with this myth, but you're going to say me wrong. The first myth is that sales is the most important. Sales is the most important KPI.
I want to emphasize the word most. It's not that it's not an important KPI. It's that we don't want to elevate it above other KPIs necessarily. So the reason that sales isn't your most important is because it doesn't tell you the whole picture. Sales actually cost money. Right? You have overhead, you have variable expenses. So in order to get that sale, you had to spend money. So how much, a good question is, how much do your sales cost? And that varies by industry, it varies by business. And so if you don't know how much your sales cost, your revenue isn't telling you the whole picture. Your sales also isn't telling you if you have a lot of debt. Are you over leveraged? Is your debt to equity ratio really high? Debt to sales ratio really high? So again, not the full picture. In the end, the most important KPI would be how much money do I have left over after all the money's been spent, including you as the business owner being paid. That's really what profit is. So do you have retained earnings? Do you have free cash flow? That is what is the real KPI that keeps you alive.
Two things really stood out to me there. First of all, the most obvious, working as a business broker, making sure that you yourself as the owner are being paid. That's something that a lot of owners overlook. So that's something that you don't really have a business until you're paying yourself. Would you agree with that?
Absolutely. And a really good principle that I follow and I share with my clients is you're paid for what you do in your business. So if you're on the tools or if you're doing some kind of work that if you were not there you'd have to pay someone to do, you're paid a wage for that, and then you're paid profit for what you own. So
the business.
Yeah, what portion of the business you own, it might be all of it, it might be a certain percentage. So you're paid a wage for what you do, paid a profit for what you own.
Yeah. The other thing that really stood out about sales, not necessarily being the most important KPI, and something that sometimes can be overlooked, is that it doesn't matter if your business is generating 100,000 in sales or 2 million in sales. That number doesn't really matter. What matters is what's left at the end of the year.
Yeah, again, how much do your sales cost? Restaurants have a lot smaller margin as opposed to a consulting service like myself. So 2 million in one industry or one business is not 2 million in another one.
Yeah, great. Okay, good. That was a good myth to debunk. All right, the second myth of business ownership is that if you are really good at what you do, your business is going to do well.
This is a hard one for a lot of people because we go to school to grow in our expertise, to be the best in what we do, and you want to do that. So I'm not minimizing that you have to be really good at your profession. The problem is when you're working in a business or you start a business, now half of what you do is your expertise, and the other half is making sure that your expertise is continually usable. You have to have a business that's keeping your expertise floating on top of the water. And so you have to learn the fundamentals of business. That's, your financial, sales, marketing, leadership, dealing with people, culture, and that is a lot of work. So typically you want to have someone come in that can fill that role if you're not particularly comfortable with it. Hire an operations manager, hire someone with business development experience to compensate for what you lack. Because I've seen really good chiropractors, really good plumbers and electricians that struggle on the business side, even though they're excellent at what they do, because that's not everything they do now.
It sounds like it would be really, and I've seen it firsthand, like it's very stressful for this type of business owner to be at the tools or producing the service or the product, and as well as on top of that, having to manage and run a business.
You typically start a business because you're passionate about your expertise. And if you haven't read the book E-Myth by Michael Gerber, go buy the book. It's a classic. Anyone that has read that will tell you it has really changed their perspective. And what is the main aspect of the story is you started a business because you're really good at baking pies, and then the business side took over your passion for baking pies. And now you don't even like baking pies anymore.
Can't even eat pies anymore.
Can't even eat pies anymore because now you're managing payroll and cash and clients, and your passion for baking pies is gone. So understand, if you're thinking of starting a business or you're at that stage, you don't have to be there. You can really love what you do, but you have to remember there's two aspects at a minimum of running a business, and that's what you love to do and running it.
At the same time, I know that from a business broker perspective, I call this type of business owner the craftsperson business owner, and they are the most difficult businesses to sell, and that's because the owner really is the business.
If they're gone, the business is gone.
That's correct. Yeah, so they're not. I don't typically take that type of a listing because it's just too difficult to sell. Yeah. So if selling your business is something that you're considering, that you'd like to do in the next 2, 3, 5 years, 10 years even, it's great to get somebody to replace you on the tools.
Pretty good. We're going to talk more about that, but you're basically building a machine that can operate while you're gone.
That's right. Good. Okay, cool. This is awesome. I'm loving this. Okay, so myth number 3. Okay. This one was one I struggled with. Myth number 3 is that success means I have to do it all on my own. Like, I got to take care of everything. That's what it means to be successful.
I love the saying, if you're the smartest person in the room, you are in the wrong room. Leadership, running a business, we often think I have to have all the answers. I have to make all the decisions. I have to know everything. And that's false.
I think what a lot of people think is that nobody can do it as well as I can.
That's a real struggle because you've built your business from the ground up, and it's got your fingerprint on it, and now you're bringing some other person in and you're giving them some power and authority. And it's hard because often they won't do it the same or as good as you, but they need to go through the learning curve. You have to be a leader and help mentor them and coach them through that. And also, just because someone does it different doesn't mean they're doing it worse, right? So we have to be okay with how they do things. But get people in the room at the table with you that are experts in the different aspects of business. And be okay with not being an expert potentially in any of them.
Yeah.
Hire people to compensate for what you lack. And that's okay.
Yeah, it is okay. It is okay.
Not just okay, actually I'd say it's necessary.
It's one of the keys to business success.
Exactly.
It really is. Having the right people at the table in the right seats is is an important key to the success of a business. And I know that it seems ironic or it seems counterintuitive, but being able to let go is also something that's very important to business success.
2 examples I'll share. One was a personal example running my landscape company, and one is more of a political one. So when I ran my construction landscape company, we did irrigation. And the first irrigation job that we ever did, I had never done irrigation before. had no idea how to do it. But we had clients asking for quotes and wanting it done. But I had 2 guys on my team, on my crew, that had done it before. And so they actually led that project and that job. And I kind of stepped down. I was like, okay, you guys show me how to do this. I paid them better on that one than I would have normally because they were teaching me a new skill that was going to take me to many more projects. So that was one example of I didn't know what I was doing. These guys did, and I relied on them to help me get there. Another good example of this is John F. Kennedy, landing on the moon. Right? Very inspirational, motivational talk that we're all familiar with. And we wanted to win the race to land on the moon. He didn't personally know how to do that. He just got the right people to make it happen at NASA, and the engineers and the scientists. So that's another good example. Leadership doesn't mean you know personally how to do it all, but you know how to get the right people in the room.
Good. Love that. Good. All right, we're going to move on to myth number 4. Growth is always good. If you're not growing, you're dying. That's what I've heard as a business adage. What are your thoughts on myth number 4?
You could flip that around, and I've personally experienced this, that growing will also kill you. You can grow too fast. You cannot keep up with growth. And what I would start with here, though, is ask yourself what you mean by growth. And what do you want from growth?
I think what most people would think by growth is sales. They would go right to sales. I know that's where my brain goes. Oh, growth, yeah, increase sales.
Right. And if we go back to the first myth, how much do those sales cost? If you're at $100,000 in sales, but you want to get to $1 million, what's it going to take? You're going to need different infrastructure, different equipment, more people, different software, CRMs, right? That's all going to cost money.
Yeah.
So you may think, oh, I'm making 10 times as much. What's your margin? How much does it cost? Can you keep up with the debt that you have to bring on? Are sales actually going to keep up with the growth that you're anticipating? So there's a lot of questions. People can grow themselves dead. And a lot of businesses fail because of cash flow issues, right? Sales issues. And you may have a ton of sales. Are all of those sales collected? Is it in the bank? That's another system that needs to be developed as you grow, but isn't often. So growth can be good.
Can be exciting.
But again, it's that one word, growth is not always
good. I noticed you said the word systems quite a few times, and I feel like when you're starting your business, you're kind of implementing the systems you need to get off the ground. And then that takes you to a certain production volume or to a certain sales volume. But then your systems are now overloaded, and to be able to get to the next sales volume bracket, your systems it's like you don't have the right systems in place to be able to take your business there.
Welcome to entrepreneurship.
Yeah.
Right? Risk, reward, ROI. Do I take that leap?
Yeah.
Are we comfortable where we are, or do we talk as a management and leadership team and say, okay, we're doing good, but we're at full capacity. Do we want to make the next step? What is it going to take to get to that next step?
Yeah.
How do we make that strategy smooth? Don't fly by the seat of your pants. Sometimes you have to build the airplane after you jump. But if you can mitigate that, then I would avoid it.
Yeah, I would avoid it. So like growth doesn't mean like, hey, I'm going to grow in 3 months for quarter 2. This is what's going to happen. Like you have to look at it over the course of several quarters.
Right.
Like several months, right?
Yeah, and again, growth. Define what that means in your organization. Because you could be growing your people.
Yeah.
And that could be increasing sales. Growth in your profit could mean cutting expenses. It doesn't mean you have to increase sales.
Oh, well, there's no doubt about it. When you don't have people, like it's really hard to grow.
Right.
You don't have a good team in place.
And there are businesses out there that, they have one office, they're a professional practice, they're making good money, the guy or lady is in his 50s or 60s, right? Growth isn't important. They have a good reputation in their community. They got good clientele coming in the door. Their retirement's set up, and talking to them about growth and expansion doesn't make sense. They don't need it.
They don't need it.
And that's okay.
Yeah, and that's okay. And it's something that you have to know about yourself as a business owner if that's what you're driven to do.
Right.
And I know for myself personally, that was a bit of a harsh lesson to learn that, I'm not necessarily the person to grow a multi-million-dollar business. I'm happy doing what I'm doing in my community.
I sat down with with a friend at lunch, and he's starting his own business. And I said, "What are your goals with it?" And he said, "Honestly, I'm not trying to be the next, big industry leader. I want to work 20 hours a week, and I know how many clients I need to get there, and then I'm happy."
Yeah.
And I thought, awesome for you for knowing, you want to spend time with your family and your hobbies, and all you need to do is get to a certain level.
And be happy
you're
with
content.
That. I know.
That's really what it's about, right?
It really is about contentment, and also like being able to identify like where your joy and contentment is. It's not for me. It wasn't attached to, how successful my business was, and that was a lesson I had to learn. It took me a long time to learn that lesson.
Because growth is infinite. Really.
It is. Yeah.
Where do you stop?
Okay, good. We're going to jump on to myth number 5, and this myth is so funny because I think it relates very much to our city as well. Myth number 5, a small business is just a little big business.
A good mentor of mine told me that Lethbridge is not a small Calgary, but a big Raymond.
Yeah.
And that's true with small businesses when we think of businesses that are publicly traded, the ones we hear about, Apple, Google, Amazon. We can learn and apply some of the principles for how they started and leadership and working with people, but they have access to more people, they have more capital and funding, they have different marketing budgets, they have researchers, access to the technology that small businesses don't. So give yourself a break that you don't have to model yourself after the Fortune 500. And small business is different. You wear a lot more hats, right? As the bigger you get, the more specialized everyone's role in a business is. When you're small and you got 1 employee, 5, 10 employees, you can still be wearing a lot of hats. Where these big businesses with all this cash, they have boards of directors, they got their own accounting departments,
They have their own legal team.
And you can't model everything you do off the big guys.
No, please don't. I do have a great story. Like, I went in to go and see someone who wanted to sell their business, and their accountant had given them a business valuation based on a publicly traded corporation. And I was talking with a mom and pop, not the same thing, not the same multipliers, not the same business valuation at all.
It was probably discouraging when that transaction came because
now their expectations of what the value of their business was exceeded anything within the realistic realm of possibility. But because a lot of the times, of course you trust your accountant, and so it was a challenging road to get them to come around to understand that a mom and pop are gonna pay less for the business because of these reasons. So, and it's because the business needs to be able to sell a business. Your business has to be able to pay you, and it has to be able to pay for itself. Like, the business should be able to pay itself off within a certain amount of time, and that time frame, it's essentially 3 to 5 years. If your business can't pay for itself in 3 to 5 years, the return on investment and the risk is just the return on investment is too small, and the risk is too great for somebody to buy your business, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that's a good gauge. That's good info.
That's a good gauge. Good. Okay, good. We'll jump on to the 6th myth about business. Maybe this one might even apply to your business. And when you're thinking about your business and you're thinking about your team, employees are only motivated by a paycheck.
Again, the word only, right? All of us want to get paid.
Yeah, of course.
We should be paid fairly. You should be paid fairly. Make sure that you are paid for the skill that you bring to the business. But research has shown that the overlap between quality of work and the amount of pay is actually very low. So HBR had an article, and they did studies not just over the last 10, 20 years, but over several decades, and they said there's only a 2% overlap between pay and job satisfaction.
That's it.
That was quite eye-opening to me. And but if you think about it, what do a lot of people want in the work they're applying for?
Sure, they want to feel like they're contributing, that they're a part of a team, that their ideas are listened to and valued.
Yeah, if you found a job that was just nailed on the head, the passion and things you love, you woke up and you were energized, would you take a pay cut?
Oh, absolutely, I would.
Maybe not do it for free.
No,
but to be honest, some people start doing what they love for free until they can make money doing it. So a good example is the Wright brothers. Simon Sinek talks about this in his book Start With Why, where the Wright brothers didn't have money, didn't have funding, didn't have government backing and all the news press covering their stories. They're trying to build the first airplane.
Yeah.
But their competition did. They had the research, they had the experts, they had money. And the difference was the Wright brothers were passionate about it. They loved what they were doing. And as soon as the Wright brothers got their plane off the ground and flew for the first time, the other guys just quit. Because it wasn't a passion of theirs. They didn't continue to develop off of what they did or congratulate them necessarily. It was just they were doing it for different reasons. And so although you need to pay people, they want more than just a paycheck.
Yeah. And the Wright brothers were the ones who finally got their plane to fly first.
Yeah. And it wasn't about the money.
Yeah. So, hey, passion, let that be the wind beneath your wings.
Yeah. Still get paid.
And still get paid, though.
And still get paid.
I mean, hey, it's amazing what I do for a pizza party. I've done a lot of hard volunteer work for pizza. But no, you do want to obviously work with your employees and understand what motivates them, because not everyone is motivated by the same thing. Like some people, and that's a little bit about your, how you do like the DISC theory, like the DISC program, because you learn what motivates people. Are they motivated, by words of encouragement? Are they motivated by additional responsibility? Are they motivated by some people? A small percentage of people are motivated by the money.
Yeah. But what those kinds of assessments and tools teach you is that you can have the right people in the wrong seat.
Yeah.
And so you may be trying to get more performance and quality out of them by increasing their pay, but what they really need is just to be put in a different seat with a different role, and they'll thrive.
Yeah.
And that is a very powerful tool
it's
as a leader.
so true. And I know, like, it's so disheartening as being an employee, where your employer is expecting you to do these specific these types of tasks that you have no ability, no interest, no desire to do. I have an example where the guy, one of the employees in the company was doing a lot of the the software. He was a programmer, and so he programmed the software. But the owner wanted him to also be doing video content, and he didn't want to do video. Like this, he's a programmer who works in his office. He doesn't want to be on camera or anything. It's completely unrelated to his job description, and it really caused a lot of friction in the company. That the owner wasn't able to see that this is not the right person to do this job, and to move on. But instead it was like, this employee, this, that, and the other thing. And it was like, well, you're asking him to do a job that's outside of his realm, outside of his skill set even. Just find someone else to do it.
And the thing is, you may be able to pay him to get there, but you might have to pay him a lot. Yeah. For it to be worth it.
True.
And is that worth it for you?
Not really. And if he has zero inclination, zero interest, you're beating a dead. Yeah, just exactly. Hire someone who's excited to do the job. Yeah. And get better results that way. All right, good. Okay, so hey, let's move on to our seventh myth. Number 7 for myths of business ownership. What's this one? Oh, yes. This is a good one, because we definitely see this a lot in the media. It's very romanticized, and that is leaders and entrepreneurs are born.
I don't like this one because it assumes that we're all just static and that we can't grow. And I'm not saying that there aren't people that are given, unique callings and gifts, but it's rare, and we want to also let people know that all of us can develop and have a great influence on the world, on our community, on our family, and our relationships. The thing about leadership and entrepreneurship is, in order to develop as a leader, you have to be very self-aware. You have to know how you react and behave in the world. You also have to learn how other people act and behave in the world, and how to bridge the gap between how you behave and how other people behave, or else there's conflict and contention and you can't come to the table. There's also learning how businesses run, how operations are done. All of this takes experience and time. No one's born with that level of knowledge and experience.
No.
Right? No one comes out of the womb and they understand how everything works and operates in the world. And if you're intentional about it, and that's one of my favorite words in business, in leadership and entrepreneurship, is if you're intentional about it, you can get there. You can learn. Our brains are plastic. They're meant to absorb and change. You know, we don't have to continue on the path that we're always on if we don't want to. We can learn. So absolutely everyone can be a leader because it's simply influence, and everyone can have an influence on something.
Yeah, that's true. I like that. But I like the word exactly. It's the intentional mindset. Like you have to be intentional about your decisions, about your choices.
Right.
Yeah. So like me, I'm intentional right now. I'm learning how to type. I have to be very intentional about it because it's something that's important to me. If I was just going to say like, oh, you know, so now I have a SMART goal about typing. You know, I've broken it down, how many minutes I'm going to type every day, what I get for when I reach a certain, like when I reach, I know this is pathetic, but I type 11 words a minute right now. So I have a reward for myself for when I get to 15 words a minute and then to 30 words a minute. And so like these are intentional goals to make me better at typing because I know it's a skill that's going to benefit me in so many ways with regards to getting work done faster. Like it's such a huge time waster, the fact that I type 11 words a minute.
Well, good for you.
Yeah.
But you're aware, right?
Yes.
It was self-awareness was that first step in being intentional. You miss 100% of the shots you don't take.
That's right.
You know, success is not an accident. Anyone who says it is lying to you.
Yeah.
So it takes a lot of work to
It
be
does.
successful, so you got to be intentional.
It does. Okay, good. Well, hey, we're going to keep talking more about some business myths here today with Cody Nielsen from Nielsen Business Coaching and Development. We're trying to give you some of the essential keys that you need to run a successful business. This is a little bit of a roadmap, if you will, and hopefully some keys that you can put into some locks and open some new doors to business ownership and to your success. So there's a lot of media out there on glamorizing business ownership. We're trying to get into the real talk of what it is to really own a business. So we're already at myth number 8. And I think this is a big one. This is what a lot of people think, that business is only about the money. That's what business is about.
Again, only.
Yeah.
It's we just have to highlight that word because you obviously need money, you need cash flow to keep your business going.
But it's so much more than that.
But it's so much more than that. So Simon Sinek says 100% of employees are people. 100% of clients are people. If you don't understand people, you don't understand business. So some people have been saying, you know, if you don't understand money, you don't understand business. You could say that. You could say that as well. You have to have that aspect, as we talked about before. But what I like to think of is you have to marry purpose and profit. If you isolate either of those and only focus on one of them, your business will fail.
Yeah.
If you're only focused on the profit, your clients and your employees are going to drop.
Yeah.
If you're only focused on purpose and you don't know what's going on the financial side,
yeah.
your business could drop. So you have to marry profit and purpose together.
I've definitely seen both of those stories happen in front of with clients where they're just so motivated by their business and the purpose of their business that they weren't even keeping an eye on their bookkeeping. And when you don't have like you hire somebody to handle your books because that's not what you want to do. But you still have to be looking and checking over their work. So the particular bookkeeper that they had hired, I don't even know what they did or didn't do, but it came to their attention that they hadn't paid their GST remittances, and that was a real sinker for their business because now they owe, like when the government's like says to you, hey, we want you're late on your GST and like we want it all right now, it's like, oh great, where am I going to come up with $17,000 or $25,000 like in the snap of a finger? So
yeah, you can't neglect one or the other.
You can't neglect one or the other. Just because you hire people to do the work for you, still always have your eyes on the numbers. I think it's good motivation too.
That's where leaders get confused with delegation and abdication.
Yes, delegation and abdication.
Delegate tasks, don't abdicate tasks.
Yeah.
Still be involved, know what's going on.
Yeah.
Don't have too long of a leash or totally let go.
Yeah, you have to know about your business,
Right.
and that includes the back end if it's not for you. And then also if you're very focused on the back end, you still have to know what the front of the house is up to or the front side of your business is up to.
Right.
Yeah, it's important to have for both. So yeah, business is not only about the money.
You also have many stakeholders. Some of your stakeholders, it's about the investment they've put in and it's about money. But you also have stakeholders that have no interest in the money side. So take into account the influence you're having on all your stakeholders, and that will help give you perspective. How much of this is about money? How much is it about driving the mission of our business and helping our community?
Yeah, that's great, because it's not the same answer for everyone, and I guess it's just a question of, it's just knowing not to make assumptions about what you think the person is important to them. You have to ask them what's important to them straight up.
Right.
That could probably save you a lot of headaches.
Yeah. If you do a good job of what you do, profit, money will be a result.
Yeah, the profit will be a result. Yeah, that's good. All right, thanks. Awesome advice, Cody. This is going really good. We are discussing the 10 myths of business ownership, already at number 9. Number 9. Number 9 is great for all of you startups. Hey, I need to write a 50-page business plan for my business.
I'll admit I've written more business plans than I would like. I can see the purpose in some aspects. The problem is we think that that's the only way that you can establish the goals and trajectory of your company, and that you have to keep this 50-page business plan up over the years. The purpose of them typically is I need funding, I got to go to a financial institution, and they want that 50-page business plan with financial statements, whatever. But as anyone who's been in business for longer than 20 minutes can probably tell you, you make that business plan, you stick it on the shelf or in a drawer, and it gathers dust. How often are you actually pulling that out and using it as a tool in your meetings to gauge your next 90 days? It's
never is the answer if you've been in business for more than 20 minutes.
And it's rare, and it's not that there's not good info in that business plan.
There is, yeah.
But it's that it's hard to pull it out, and it's hard to have your staff and your leadership also pull that out, especially if you're the one that built it, or you hired other people to build it. That might not even be info you put in there, right? So I like to use tools that can put your business plan on 1 or 2 pages, and there's a few out there. The 1-page business plan by Jim Haran, Business Model Canvas by Strategizer.
Love the Business Model Canvas, yeah.
And the Vision Traction Organizer, that's my personal favorite, from Traction, from Gino Wickman. Those will provide a tool that you can use on a daily, weekly, monthly basis, because it's a succinct picture that you can easily look at and navigate on 1 to 2 pages.
Yeah.
And you can bring it into your leadership meetings. And so you don't need a 50-page business plan to be successful.
And I think that's the best news that we've heard in this entire interview.
Yes, and I know a lot of business owners are going, they're looking it up right now, and they realize they're relieved that that's not the only way.
Oh, it isn't the only way. And some good news, I mean, obviously it varies from lender to lender, but lenders don't really need that 50-page business plan anymore either. They're happy to look at a very succinct, condensed business plan. What they're most interested in, obviously, is the financial forecasting side. So that has to be well thought out. But they don't need the 50-page business plan either. I love the 1-page business plan just for that. You get it laminated. You put it somewhere visual up where you can see it. It's easy to talk with your employees about it. You can point to it. It's just great to have it always there in your environment so that you refer to it often. And I think that's a real benefit to your business, because it keeps your ship, keeps you steering your ship, right?
I know there's some people out there who are more analytical and detailed that are going, but I need more info. So you can have your 2-page business plan, but still you can have a supplemental document that goes into a lot more detail if you want in the background. But that's not what you always have to pull up to guide meetings and strategy.
Thanks for that, Cody. You're right. It's true. There are different types of brains out there that work differently, and that is true. All right, good. So hey, the 2-page business plan. We will post those. We'll post those in the comments later, so you can go and bring them up if you want to have a look. All right, we are talking about your business, the 10 myths of business ownership, how to possibly avoid them. So for our last one, it's number 10, and in order to be successful, you have to consistently be grinding.
This is one of my favorite, because one of the most common tips I give to my clients is go to bed.
Go to bed.
Go to sleep. You don't know until you've been neglecting yourself how beneficial it is to take care of your body and your brain. Your business needs your brain. It needs your body to be able to show up 100%. So you may be putting in 80 hours of work, but you're at 50% capability. If you're taking care of your body, whatever that looks like for you, maybe it's yoga, maybe it's sleep, eating, exercise, staying educated, your family, hobbies, you have to take care of yourself so that you can show up for those 40 hours 100%, not 80 hours 20%. There's an analogy that you can dig the foundation of your home with a spoon and you can say you're working hard. You know, here's your gold star, but you're not getting anywhere. That's not useful.
No, it's not, and I've definitely built a foundation with a spoon, and it takes way too long and way too much effort, and it's it's exhausting.
This is what I primarily am helping business owners with as a coach. I'm talking with them to say, how do we get you to the point where you have a machine running, so that you can go away for a week on vacation, 2 weeks, and the business is still operating. Like we mentioned before, if you want to sell your business, you have to be able to take yourself out of the picture and not much changes.
Yeah, not much changes.
Right? You may have to bring in a new person that fills that hole that you were in.
Yeah.
Which is normal, but if you can't leave and have things operate, that's a good litmus test for you that you don't have full control of your business, and you're grinding really hard. So just remember, don't dig the hole with a spoon. You know, just you're working hard, but what you really want is efficiency.
It's efficiency,
systems, and
intentional and focus and intentionality. Being intentional about your focus and about your tasks.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Don't brag about being the hardest worker necessarily.
Yeah.
Brag about being the most productive and efficient and influential.
That's great. I definitely would love to one day be able to brag about that.
Yeah, we all do. Yeah.
Yeah, I noticed that you mentioned about like how you want to be building your business as a machine. A lot of people that business owners who come to me want to sell their business. They tell me that their business is their baby, and I was like, well, no wonder why you don't want to sell your baby. Nobody would ever sell their babies. I was like, what you want is you want your baby to grow up to be an adult. You know, you don't want to hold on to your baby. You want your baby to grow into adulthood so that they can take care of themselves. Like that's what every parent wants for their baby. So
fly the nest.
Fly, get out of here, go fly on your own. Exactly. So that's another kind of analogy that I like to use with clients who talk about their businesses as their babies. Where you're raising your business to be independent and self-sufficient, and I think that's an important key to remember.
You would have a good perspective on this. Do you find that someone that wants to sell their business is often trying to get out because they're stressed, it's a lot of work, and so they do the work to prepare it for sale, which means they've now got systems that is running like they want it to. They're enjoying it more, and they go, I don't want to sell it anymore. This is what I actually was trying to do the whole time. Does that happen a lot?
I can't say that it's happened a lot, but yes, I have seen that happen, absolutely. And I'm so elated and excited for that business owner to finally take the helm of business ownership and captain to captain the ship, right? But, and know that hey, that's that the reason why you wanted to sell your business, your baby, was because it was had a lot of dirty diapers and was screaming and crying for attention all the time, and you couldn't sleep, you couldn't go anywhere, you couldn't do anything because your baby needed your constant attention. But once that person realized, okay, now I have a motivation to get things in place to sell it. Now they realize I don't have to now my business is actually amazing to be in, amazing to run. I'm excited to come into work every day. And that's what you want as a business owner. You want to be excited to go to work every day. And I know, Cody, that's something that you help people with.
My tagline, if you go on my website, take control of and enjoy your business.
Yes.
That's why you started it. You had some kind of a vision that energized you. You had time, you had money, your clients loved you, your employees loved you, right? You had some pride in building and creating this business, that you grew this baby into a fully functioning adult.
Yeah.
And somewhere along the line, for too many of us, that gets curbed. We hit a wall, we don't know the next steps. So don't be afraid to reach out for help. There are people out there that want to help you, that have the expertise to help you. And if you think, I'm a business owner, I'm supposed to know what I'm doing, join the club of most of us don't.
Join the club of none of us really do. Except for the masters.
Yeah, but even then, there's no finish line in business.
No, it's
You're
true.
always learning, and so bring the right people to the table that's what leadership is.
Yeah, it's true. And being a good leader is going to ask for that, is going to get the help you need.
Yes.
Identifying what the help is that you need and then going to get it. Like, that's what a good leader does.
Yeah, you got to be a little vulnerable. You got to be, that's the self-awareness piece as well. Like, it's okay you don't know everything.
Yeah. Okay, I am really happy, like we talked about these 10 myths of business ownership. I hope you guys got some really valuable lessons from these. They are pretty raw and rugged and true. But Cody, before we wrap up the show, there's something that we didn't talk about today. I think it'd be worth just taking the last few minutes. How does personal development and your business, how do those two work together?
You have to marry the two. The same way an athlete, Michael Jordan, Michael Phelps, Usain Bolt, if you ask them, how did you get here? Because all their fame is on TV for that 1 hour, that 9-second run, but they'll tell you it was hitting gym.
Yeah.
It was the work in the background. So your personal development is not just important, but it's mandatory. It's vital to you being successful in business. So as a business coach, I tell my clients we need to marry business effectiveness with business effectiveness. And that right there is where you meet success.
Love that. Good. So, hey, if you're listening to this personal development piece and it's really resonating with you, tune in for our next episode. Cody's coming back. We're going to be discussing the hero's journey, and that hero journey has a lot to do with personal development. We're going to be getting more into that as a subject next time.
More of the psychology behind it.
Behind it, like our limiting beliefs, etc. So thanks so much for joining the show. And Cody, thanks for being on.
Thanks you. It was
nice,
great.
Nice way to go. Nice to debunk the 10 common myths of business ownership. Thanks for tuning in to your, thanks for tuning into the show today, and we will see you next week. Be awesome and have a great week in business.